Welcome back to the Nitty Gritty of Real Estate podcast. Today we're talking about the second part of the ways agents give values to their seller clients. Let's get into it. Tom, thanks for coming back with us today here.
You got it, Jill.
All right, you gave us lots of great information on the first 10 items that a real estate agent is responsible for when representing a seller. I would like to talk to you about 10 more if you've got time.
Sure.
Okay, great. So let's go ahead and jump right into this.
You got it.
The first one is a big one, lead-based paint. That doesn't exist anymore, and there's stuff that has to be addressed with that if you're selling a house?
Well, actually, lead-based paint is not manufactured for homes anymore that I'm aware of. I think that ended like in the 60s, but cans were laying around for a long time, so they say in a lead-based paint addendum that it has to be, the house has to be built after 1978 for there not to be the potential of lead there, okay? Prior to 1978, there could be lead-based paint in the house. Now, lead-based paint, quickly I'll give you an overrun. If kids are chewing on the windowsills and they get the lead in them, high levels of lead will cause mental problems or physical problems too, okay? So they want to make sure that the buyer knows that the house was built before 1978, could potentially have lead in it, and if you want to get it get it inspected and expose the lead, you can do that. But the seller needs to still disclose that.
Okay, and by disclose, you
give them an addendum that says house was built prior to 1978.
And whether or not they know of any of it.
Yeah, and if you want to pay to have the lead inspections done, that's fine.
Okay. All right, that one's pretty cut and dry, but sounds like very important.
Very important, yep.
All right, so the next one I want to talk about is the list of property inclusions, things that convey. How do you help with that?
Well, a lot of times people here in Tucson, Arizona, they're like retirement people, and they're done retiring here now. They want to go back home, maybe to an assisted living center, or maybe they, grandma misses the grandbabies and wants to go back to the grandbabies.
Sure, that happens.
Right? That happens all the time. So they don't want all this furniture because it's not going to go with where they're going back to. So they want to include the furniture in the price of the house, and then they want to jack the price of the house up. Problem is that the value of the house is not the value of the furniture. So we have to have the furniture on a separate bill of sale, okay? Because the house is considered real property. The furniture is personal items. So you have a bill of sale for that. You have a warranty deed for the sale of the house. Okay, so sometimes it's hard to go, well, yeah, but it costs us $80,000 for the furniture. Well, that's great. It has no value when it comes to the lender lending on the property.
Okay, so helping them understand how to handle that situation in the best way for them then. Okay. And then what about if a landlord, say maybe they have a ADU, an accessory dwelling unit in the back, and they've got a tenant in place? What is your role there? How do you handle that?
Well, it all depends. Now, if they're selling it as an investment property, then we want to try and leave the tenant there. If they're selling it as a personal residence with a casita, then we have to market it that way, that it's a personal residence with the ability to have some income coming in. Or it's a personal residence with maybe grandma's visitation house where grandma comes and visits, or the kids come to visit.
Now, if they want to have the tenant, like maybe it's a month-to-month lease, and they want to ask the tenant to vacate in order for them to sell, or if they want to make sure the tenant's, cooperating with showings, is that something you also help with?
Yeah, so normally they have a lease in place if it's more than a month-to-month. A lot of times on a month-to-month, it is verbal. There's nothing in writing, okay? They may have had a lease in place for a while, but at the current time, it's just a month-to-month, right? 30-day notice from the day when the rent is due. So let's say you have a ADU that they pay rent from the first of every month. So you get the rent, and then on the second, you want to tell them they have to be out by the next month, the first of the next month. No, they don't have to be out for a month after that. But if you tell them on the first, or you tell them before the first,
prior to,
then the following first. Okay, that's on a month-to-month. Also, tenant-landlord law here in Arizona, in Tucson specifically, we go by a 48-hour notice. We have to give that tenant 48-hour notice for showings. Now, as a real estate agent, I can tell you that sometimes is a problem because people are only in town for a little bit and they need to make a decision. Well, if I'm only here for Friday and maybe Saturday morning, I can't give the tenant or give my real estate agent the tenant 48-hour notice they need, right? So that's going to hinder the seller. Now, if the seller needs that income, we're not going to say nothing. But if the seller just takes that's like spending money for vacations or something like that, we're going to recommend to the seller that they have the tenant move out. So we have free access to show it whenever we want, just like for their house.
Okay, so helping them decide what makes financial sense for them, and then
Correct.
once you figure that out, making sure they're staying within the law as far as notifications to their tenant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes people think they can just say, hey, I'm going to be over in an hour. No.
Not with the tenant, no.
Tenants have rights too.
They have, yes. They have quite a few rights. So then as far as, managing the marketing, like signs, photos, descriptions, like the listing information, the cleanliness of the property, what is your role in all of that as a listing agent?
Hey everyone, we want to interrupt this episode to let you know that we are a Keller Williams Southern Arizona franchise.
We are also realtors practicing equal housing. Now let's get you back to the podcast.
Well, Jill, to be honest with you, the best kept properties are usually the highest priced properties that sell. Okay. People don't want to come in and buy a job. Most of the time, unless they're investors, but then they're not going to give you top dollar anyways, right? So people that want to come in and just be able to move into their house, that's going to get you the best possible price for your house. Marketing the property, signage, you want to have clean, good-looking signs. You don't want to have rusty sign out in front of the house. You want to come across as being very professional and stately in your marketing. You want to make sure that you bring to the public the best possible product for the seller.
Okay, so as the listing agent, then making sure that the equipment you're using is in good condition to highlight their house that hopefully is also in good condition. I'm guessing you've given them guidance on anything they can do.
Yeah.
And then, talking about the signs, photos, and things, keeping up on the latest trends in marketing and what's working. That's also something that you're going to be doing.
Yeah. So what we do is we help them in getting their house. Let's depersonalize it so that the buyers can come in and look at the house as being their house, nobody else's house, right? We definitely want a professional photographer coming in. We don't want people going around with their iPhones and shooting pictures with their iPhones. Now, iPhones have a great camera, but that's not a professional photographer doesn't use an iPhone. If it was that great, they'd be using them. They don't.
That's true.
So
that is very true.
you need to have the professionals to do the marketing. And as a real estate agent, our job is not necessarily to take pictures. Our job is to bring the property to the best, or bring the property to the public in the best light possible. Make sure that the contracts are filled out correctly so that we don't do anything illegal, and to negotiate for the best interest and fairly for the seller, and not be slippery.
I like that word, slippery.
Yeah.
Yes, keep it all above board.
Yes.
All right, and then making sure that buyers and sellers have copies of all of the documents.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. It's required in our business that when a thing is signed, a copy must be left with the seller. Must be left with the buyer, depending on who's signing what. Now, in today's digital age, most of the stuff is always saved on the computer, so they just got to go to the computer and get it. But like we would love to do is send out a folder, a digital folder to the seller and or to the buyer, so they have all their documents in it. Then in addition, when you go to the title company and you do the closing, the title company will give you paper documents and or a computer stick with all the digital documents in there. So you just want to make sure that everybody has documents, because you never know when you get a phone call from the state and you're getting audited as a company, a real estate company, or somebody comes back to you as a seller and says, you knew about the neighbor having their house on, 16 feet into your yard and you didn't disclose it. You want to make sure you have all of that.
So making sure
there.
you keep it for the future too.
Yes. Yeah, and a digital way is the best.
Sure. And then creating and maintaining online advertising for the property. So as the listing agent, are you sitting there creating all these different ads? Or
Some agents are. Some agents love that. They actually should be marketing people, not real estate agents, because they love to do all the creativity. They're super creative. Unfortunately, I'm not very creative when it comes to digital colors. My wife has to dress me half the time. I am creative, though, when it comes to numbers.
Okay.
I'm very creative in the financing area, but not in the marketing area. That's why we've hired Click Visual as our marketing division, because they're, in my opinion, the best in the city. So you have to have a good marketing company in order to market houses now, especially. It's not like during COVID where all you had to do was just get a house under a listing and it was sold 3 times.
So, Tom, the next thing I'd like to talk about is managing the showings, because that's obviously a large part. You need to get people in the house. So in what way do you manage the showings? And then once those offers come in, you spoke a little bit before about making sure they're good offers. Can you touch on that again?
Yeah, absolutely. So managing the showings, this is the one benefit of having a real estate agent versus selling your house by yourself, okay, is that you're going to work. You can't show the house, right, if you're a for sale buyer. So if you have a real estate agent, we're available all the time to be able to show the house and or give information on the house. Or if other agents have buyers that want to see the house. So they'll come through to us and we will set up the showings so that they can get into the house. We'll let the seller know the showings are coming so the house can be in the best possible condition to get the best possible price for the property. Now, when it comes to properties that are not so well positioned in the marketplace, we're going to strongly suggest to the seller, look, this is the feedback we've received from the showings. What we'd like to do is maybe pull the house off the market for a couple days. Let's get these things addressed and bring the house back up on the market. Okay, those are some of the ways of managing showings. It's not only managing the time, but it's managing the property for showings. And then when you ask me about offers, we want to make sure that the offers that we do get, we have some conversations with the agent who's representing the buyer. And saying, okay, what's your offer? What's your what's your client's idea? Why are they wanting to buy the house? How good is this lender? How good is their job security? We'll ask some of those types of things to make sure that when the offer comes in, that the offer is the best possible offer being presented to the seller to make the best possible decision for the seller.
Okay, so trying to get them additional information beyond just what's on that paper.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, the agent who represents the buyer is not going to disclose information that will harm the buyer, but they will disclose information that puts the buyer in the best light. Okay. And that's what we're looking for.
Okay. And then you mentioned feedback and taking it off the market. So what exactly are you doing there as far as, staying in communication with them and helping them make decisions and things?
So every showing that we have on our listings, okay, we have a transaction coordinator that reaches out and talks to the agent who showed the property, wants showing feedback. What is it about the property that the buyer liked? What is it about the property the buyer didn't like? Why didn't the buyer put an offer in? Is the buyer still thinking about putting an offer in? What do you feel about the price? What do you feel about the condition? So it's about 7 questions we ask, and we try and get the feedback. If we had 10 showings on a listing in the first week that we've had it for sale, and everyone comes back and says the carpet smells funny, we're going to go talk to the seller and say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we're getting concerns about the smelling of the carpet. Now, there's several issues that could possibly be. It could be bacteria, it could be mold, it could be staining, it could be,
any number of things.
Anything, right? Here's what we would recommend you do.
Okay.
And that's what we do.
All right. So helping them understand that
Yeah.
feedback and whether it's something that is, obviously beyond their control, or if it's something that they can adjust and then try to come back and get the price.
So back in the day, when I was in the business 47 years ago, people smoked a lot. It wasn't frowned upon as much as it is now, right? You'd walk into a house and the walls were brown because of the tar on the walls, right? You'd have to go in for somebody that came in that wasn't a smoker. Oh, this house stinks. You'd have to tell the seller that. The seller goes, well, I don't smell anything. Well, of course you don't. You're a smoker, right?
Right.
So we have to be the neutral, open, obvious person who's telling them the open and honest things. We can't go along with the seller, make the seller feel good when the general public's telling the seller your house stinks.
Right.
We have to have the courage to tell them that.
Yeah. So sometimes it is giving them that brutal honesty so that they can, get the best for their house
Yep.
and continue on with their...
Yeah, you want your doctor to be honest with you, right?
Yeah.
You don't want him to lie.
No, you cannot
Or
address
her to
something.
lie.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
cannot address what you don't know or understand.
Exactly.
Sure. Okay. Well, Tom, I appreciate, again, your time today, going through all of these other items here that we do. And I believe we do have even more to go through next time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to that. But again, thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening and watching the Nitty Gritty of Real Estate podcast here with the Tom J. Krieger team of Keller Williams, Southern Arizona. If you are interested in buying a home, selling a home, or even investing in real estate, we have 5,000 agents across the country that we can connect you to. If you need any free resources, feel free to check out our website at www.thetjkteam.com. We hope you have a great day.